I'm so excited to share this with you guys. Today, I'm going to be unboxing a planner that not only has kind of a unique layout, but it might be one of the first planners that is going to offer some Tomoe River alternative options going forward. And I'm really excited about that. So this is one of the Just Scribbles planners. I got a volume 2. She splits it into 2 parts. You can get these currently at, I believe she has a 50% off if you get volume 1 and volume 2 together. So that means you're essentially getting one volume for free. It is on the Tomoe River Paper currently this year, but she is looking at a couple of different options for next year. She really took it seriously this year when we were all having struggles with the Tomoe River Paper, and she took the feedback and has really taken steps to come out with a better product next year, especially considering that the Sanzen who creates the Tomoe River Paper, their response was, well, our paper is within our guidelines of quality control. And that really hasn't been sufficient, especially for a lot of fountain pen users. So I'm excited to see what she does. The paper options that she's going to be offering next year are the Ironful, which performs really well with my fountain pens. She's also going to be offering so this Ironful 75 GSM. There's going to be a Corona, I think is how you say it. I have the graphic here for you guys, but the Corona, and that's going to be I think it's a 52 GSM, and then another option that I can't remember off the top of my head. But like I said, I'll insert the graphic here so you guys can see all that. So I'm really excited about those aspects, and I wanted to see if the layout was going to work for me. So let's go ahead and unbox it and see what everything looks like. And the first thing I'm going to know is this came pretty fast. I ordered it about a week ago. It was, instead of going through the traditional mail system, it was delivered by UPS. And I like the packaging. It's very simple. We'll see, make sure all the corners aren't damaged. That's the only thing that I would be concerned about with this type of mailer. But I'm guessing it'll be okay. I can't remember if the shipping, if there were other options and everything. I just can't remember. So know that that's a thing. So it's in a nice little, almost envelope of bubble wrap, which I think is really nice. Protects it really well. So we have the bubble mailer, and then you're also bubble wrapped, and then there is plastic around it to protect it. So it's really protected if anything happens to the outside package. That's really nice. All right, I did miss one little thing as I was pulling everything out. So I wanted to make sure we included it, which was this little envelope. It was stuck with my receipt and everything. And inside here, we have a little glittery fountain pen sticker, which is really cute. And then she also includes her business card with all of her contact information. I'll make sure all of this is linked down below so you can find it and find out additional information about the launch. She's going to be having sneaks over the next couple months about new covers, new paper, and the different sizes she's going to be coming out with and things like that. All right, let's take a detailed look at this planner. And I think what I'm going to do is, since I'm interested in how this stacks up against my Hobonichi cousin, which I have right here, and my sterling ink. This is volume 2, which I'm just starting to put together. This is what I use for my work planner. So I wanted to be able to compare them as we go. Let's start with covers. So I don't know what material she uses. It feels like a leather-esque, but I'm not sure. It doesn't have the texture that we have on the sterling ink planners. It's more smooth, so I'm not sure what material it is. She does have a little bit of foiling on here. This is rose gold. I don't know if next year will be different. It probably will. But in the middle, it says plans because that's the name of her planner. And then down here, we have 2025 and vertical, which is the orientation that I like. And it says volume 2. Now, comparing that to my common planner, same size. So they're all A5 size. So we have the year here, we have A5 and a V part 2, and it says common planner. I kind of prefer this branding, but neither one is bad. And then my Hobonichi cousin, despite my stickers, is just a plain You know, I'm going to insert a picture of what the cover looks like without things on it so you can see, but it's also just a very simple cover. These two have a more protective feeling, and the Hobonichi cousin is it's almost like a cardstock. So I do prefer these two to that. They have the same type of binding. So there is some difference because I have used some of them a little bit, but they all have that stitch binding, so they're all going to lay flat really well. It does look like the Just Scribbles plans is a little bit bigger than my Sterling Ink Common Planner. I'll look at that a little closer in a second. But on the spine here, we have 2025 and volume 2, really simple and easy to read actually. And then on the back, we have designed by Just Scribbles, and that's the whole design. There is nothing on the binding of the Hobonichi cousin. For a better comparison as far as width and everything, they do have an AVEC version that is 2 volumes. I just don't have that this year, but there's nothing on the binding. This is kind of like a really heavy duty, almost like, I don't know, binding tape here. So there's nothing there and nothing on the back. And then as far as the Sterling Ink goes, we have the year A5. So just so you can see them side by side. So you have a little more wording on here, but I don't know. This spells out part 2. This says volume 2. There is, oh, maybe the V's for vertical. So anyhow, it's just a personal preference. I don't know that one is better than the other. And then on the back, you both have branding here. This one says designed by Just Scribbles. This says Common Planner designed by Sterling Ink. So it's kind of, either way, it's very minimal. You're not really going to pay a whole lot of attention to it, I think. As far as the widths, now I have started to set this up because we'll be starting volume 2 here at July. And so it has a little bit done, and you can kind of see how I've used the first couple of pages to start setting that up. But as far as a size goes, the Common Planner is thinner, which tells me it has less pages because it doesn't contain some of the page formats that we have in the Just Scribbles. And as far as height goes, actually, the Sterling Ink Planner is just a hair taller, like maybe like the tip of my fingernail taller. Let me see if I can show you guys. So it's just that much taller. And then as far as the width goes, it's a little hard to see because I put on my tabs, but the Common Planner is just a little bit slimmer. I believe she said it's the exact same size as the Stalogy's full year. So if you want to use like clear covers, that's what she recommended. I think she even has a video on her website about that. So I'm not going to compare thicknesses because I don't think that's fair, but I do want to compare size here if I can. It's a little hard since it's so bulked up. But I actually think it more closely fits the size of the Hobonichi cousin because there is some difference between the Common Planner and the Sterling Ink. Well, I don't know. It's so hard to tell. So I guess I can't really fully tell you on that, but I think it's the same size. All right. Next, let's look at our inside here. This lays really flat. It's very flexible, very, very flexible. Like I thought when I got this one that it was super flexible, but the Just Scribbles plans is definitely more flexible. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. It's just a thing. I always keep mine in covers, so I don't think it's going to matter to me. So we have that front page. This is kind of a cardstock here. And the Common Planner, we have the same deal where we have a page of like really thick cardstock. It feels like it's probably, well, actually, no, hold on. Are they the same? I think they are. So we have that, and the Hobonichi has the same concept. So next we have the beginning of her layout. So she has, like I said, some unique things here. So we have our cover page. And here's something that I haven't seen in any of the other planners. So first of all, I kind of like this where it says the one with more of my plans. That's a cute, I like the font she used. And then down here, we have something that says my key, and it has a couple of, so you have a short line here and then a longer line, and a short line here and a longer line. So if you're color coding or using symbols or something like that, you have a place to keep that for the whole book and you don't have to make up a page for it. And I really like that aspect. Neither of the other two planners have that. Then we have the yearly page. So this is set up a little different than both of these. So we have our yearly calendar. It's a little bigger and bolder, I think, than either of these two planners. But generally speaking, I want to say it's about the same. We do have a square grid around these. I don't know exactly how I feel about that, if it's a good thing or a bad thing. If you're coloring in squares, I feel like it gives you a guideline and it might make it look more neat and precise. But if you're using like a circle dot sticker or something, I don't know how that's going to look. So I'm going to have to experiment a little with that. So, and then on this page, we have 2026, so the coming year, and she has the first 4 months of calendars on the side, and then you have some lines here. I did ask her because I was confused. I'm like, you don't have the full year. What she told me is that most people, and she's totally right about this, most people are only pre-planning by a couple of months. So while it doesn't have your yearly stuff that you need to transfer over, it does have, you know, if you're pre-planning big events in the next couple months. In volume 2, you have January through April. And in volume 1, you're going to have July, August, September, October here. So it really makes a lot of sense to me. I just am so used to seeing another yearly view here. In the Hobonichi Cousin, this is what our yearly view looks like. It's a lot more minimal. In some ways, it doesn't. So here we just have the names of the month. I think I prefer that. Here we have the name and the number of the month. It also says this year up here. We don't have that on this one. I like having the number more bold. On this side, I've covered it up, but you have a calendar from 2024 that'll take up the top half, and the bottom half is a calendar for 2026. Now, I don't tend to use those two calendars because they are just calendars. You don't have anywhere to write next to them or anything. So I think I prefer her setup in here to the Hobonichi Cousin. As far as comparing it to my common planner, so here she starts it on a different page. So we have kind of that intro page here, and then a blank page on this side, and then your calendar. It's a little bit more simplistic, and I like both of these versions. The one thing that the Sterling ink has that the Just Plans doesn't have is over here we have the numbers for each week, which I don't know that I use, but I don't know how I feel about them not being there either. It is something I can always put in, and we have it in other places. So it's something I want to think about and pay attention to on whether or not I like that. Our next pages in here are kind of the index pages. These are pretty universal across all the planners. So in here we have July through December, and that's it. Now, in the Hobonichi Cousin, no matter which version of the Hobonichi Cousin you get, be it the AVEC or the full year, you have the full year of this index in both copies. So that's one of the big differences. The other I would say here is you don't have the year at the top. The spacing is about the same, but it is more minimalist, and you don't have all of the different colors that kind of distract when you're doing this. She does indicate where the weekends are just by a slightly shaded in portion for those, which I think I like that better. As far as the sizing here goes, so this is a 4mm grid. I can't remember the size of the Hobonichi Cousins grid, but I want to say it's the same. The Hobonichi Cousin does have a bigger space here down at the bottom, and this one, it's more equal from top to bottom. I think you're getting an equal space at the top that you do at the bottom, or pretty close. Where in the Hobonichi Cousin, you have a smaller space. You do have actual check boxes here. So if you have specific goals for each month, this is more universal where you can use it for whatever you want and you don't have to pay attention to those check boxes. And then when we're looking at the Sterling Ink one, which is placed slightly differently, hers, she breaks it up by quarter. So you have a quarterly kind of page here, and then you have like January, February, March. And she also does, these pages are universal no matter which volume you have. So I think that's a preference thing. I don't know how I feel about it because transferring stuff can be a pain. But when I'm looking at my index, I use this as an index for all of the videos I've done this year. It's nice to be able to look back over the full year if I want to reference a particular video or find, did I do a video on something? This is easier for me to look at and go back further because I'm going to want to use the whole year and I don't want to have to pull out other volumes. So I don't know which one I prefer. It's just a difference. I think for my work planner, I probably prefer this. For my catch-all planner, which is what I think I would use this for, I don't know that it matters. Next, we have this. So we have a blank page on this side, and then on the other side, we have a grid page. This is another little difference that I don't think either of the other two planners have that I haven't pointed out so far is every page is numbered. So we're on page 6 right here, and it says 2025. You have 3 really light boxes there at the top, and then the rest is a grid. This is kind of, I imagine, as your like storyboarding or mood board for the year, your vision board, whatever it is that you use to keep motivated throughout the year. I think this is the location for it. And I love having this location. We do have something similar in the Hobonichi Cousin, but it's not here. This page is located, hold on, right here where you're getting to, like, this is the end of the weeklies, and you turn the page and it says turning the page to a new year, and you have a 2-page spread that is showing 2024 calendar over here and 2025. This is meant for anything that you're transferring. This is anything you're going to transfer over into your new planner, essentially. And this is kind of a storyboard page for your coming year, I think is the intent, but I like this one better. Now, the Sterling Ink doesn't have this, but it does have, you know, blank note pages at the back that you could always use for this, but there isn't a designated location for it. So I think I prefer this. Our next 2 pages are our annual goals, and I love the way that this is set up because it goes really well with my Moxie Life goal planning system that I use. It has 8 categories, which is the number of categories that they use. And I just think it flows really well. Now, the Hobonichi Cousin doesn't have goal pages at all. You can kind of use your own. It has some extra pages at the back that, hold on, they kind of can be set up, which I never actually set these up, for different things, but there's no goal page back here. There are a couple of blank pages that you could use, but nothing that is designated as goals in there. By comparison, for the Sterling Ink, and yes, I filled this out, but we have a goal breakdown page. We do have, I don't think it's 8. I think it's 6 or something. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, 6 categories, which for my overall planning didn't fit with my Moxie Life system. So I use this just for goal planning for YouTube and Instagram and that type of thing. And in here, we have breakdowns. So it has a someday goal, you have a 1-year goal, a half-year goal, a quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily, which I really like the thought process of breaking it down, but you can do this here. It's just not already pre-thought out for you. So as far as which one I like better, I like them both for different reasons. So I don't know which one is better overall. I'm kind of thinking that this might be still better for my work planner, but this would be better for my overall planner. Next, we have quarterly pages. So we have a blank page on this side, so you can always storyboard or vision board, whatever you want. I don't know why I keep on saying storyboard. It's kind of weird. Anyhow, you can do that on this side. And then on the other side, we have a quarter 3, and you have those 3 boxes at the top and then a grid below to plan out, set goals, that kind of thing. It's a really nice way to kind of make a dashboard page for your quarter. Then we have quarter 3 goals. So we're breaking it down only differently than here. So we're still doing the quarterly goals. You just don't have the 1-year, half-year, someday definition, and you don't have we can do monthly. I'll show you that in a minute. But I don't know that we have a monthly goal designation. We'll look in a minute. But we don't have the weekly and daily goals. But I love having this space. I love that they all have headers areas so you can label them as you want. You could also transfer this into a different type of log if goals aren't your thing. Then we have each month that we have for our quarter. So we have here July, August, and September. And these are your tracker pages. And these are set up differently than anything I've ever seen before. So down here we have track it. And so you have a place to label, and it's kind of 2 lines there and then a darker line for definition. It doesn't go all the way up though. So I'm a little worried that I might get off track here, but we'll see. And then we have a 1 to 5. So maybe if you're doing like a weekly thing or something, this is maybe where you would do it. And then you have a 1 through 31. I think they probably say all 1 to 31. I don't know. Oh, no, this one says 30. So they are month specific. And you have all of that. I don't know that I have that many monthly goals that I'm going to track like that. However, what I have thought of, since I think I'm going to use this as my catch-all planner, is this would be a great place, especially since you have that huge amount there, to do a line a day for each day of the month. And then if I had something specific, like maybe I'm tracking pain or something or sleep, I could do it in a smaller area here. I don't know. I have to think about it. But those are the 2 like random thoughts I had when I saw this. And I do really like the idea of it. Now in the Sterling ink, this is what you have for your tracker for the year. It's a lot smaller. You have just a little bit for each day. This does designate the day of the week, and you have weekends kind of grayed out here. So I don't know which one I prefer. I think it depends on what you're tracking and how you like to track it. There are a lot of different ways that you can track in both of these. And I don't know, I think it's a personal preference, but that's the layout there. And the Hobonichi Cousin doesn't have a page like this. You can make a page, but there isn't one pre-designated. But anyhow, we have July, August, September, and then we have a blank page here. Is it blank? No, it's got grid. Sorry. And so you just have a grid page on this side so you can write things. And it does have just a slight grayed out square here in the middle that is designating the middle of the page. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Then on this side for our quarter, and I think I prefer this to what Sterling Ink has, where she has the different months here, but I don't have a calendar. I mean, I kind of have this calendar, which works the same way, but this is really nice for if I'm doing my content planning in here, or maybe I'm doing meal planning, kids schedules, things like that I just want to look at. I think that might work better in here. I haven't fully thought it out yet because I just got it, but I think both are nice, but I like having the calendar on the side and then a space to write things in on the other side. Again, Hobonichi Cousin doesn't have a spread that really compares to this, so I'm not going to show you anything there. Then we have another blank page with that little square in the middle. And then this side says July. This is kind of a spot where you would put together your dashboard page. It has the 3 squares at the top and the rest is gridded. So I think the equivalent of this page in the Hobonichi Cousin would be your beginning page for each month. So let me go to a month that we haven't got to yet. I think that'll be easier. So let's go to August. And August just has a blank page for your first kind of introduction to the month. And then you go into your daily pages. So I think that's the equivalent. The Sterling ink doesn't really have an equivalent to this, but it does have those blank pages or gridded pages at the back. So whichever way works better for you. Then we have the monthly layout. Now, this is one of the places where I saw the biggest differences. I mean, there's a lot, but let me pull over a monthly spread from each of these to kind of show you. So here's the Sterling ink one, and here's the Hobonichi Cousin. So generally speaking, I think the format is the same. Like you have the same type of grid. I think the boxes are generally speaking the same size. Differences at the top. So where Sterling ink tends to give you a little bit more like free space here so things don't feel so crowded towards the edges, I think the Just Plans and the Hobonichi Cousin kind of utilize as much space as possible. On the Hobonichi Cousin, again, we're seeing more color variety here. You also have your moon phases. It'll have holidays for, in this one, Japan, I think, in here. Or maybe not. I was thinking there was Japanese holidays, but maybe it's in a different location. But anyhow. And we have the Japanese symbol for the day of the week, and grayed out kind of what days are not in that month, we'll say. And then you have this header portion with the first 3 letters of the month, the number of the month, and the year. So both the Just Scribbles and Sterling ink kind of simplify matters. So both of them have something similar up here in the corner, only so the Sterling ink has the number, and it's just a 1 number here, where Just Scribbles has made it universal. So no matter what month, it's going to take up the same amount of space. So you have a 07. So when you get into the 2-digit numbers, you're going to have that equal. And then we have a script version of the month and the year here. On the Sterling ink, we have the number, the full, printed name of the month, and then the year. So you're having the same information. It's just laid out a little different. They all seem to gray out the additional days of the month. The Common Planner and the Hobonichi Cousin have here numbered the weeks of the month. What Just Scribbles has done, and I actually really appreciate this, she's moved the weeks to this side. So it's not interfering with anything you're doing in this column. Because sometimes I run into, especially if I'm decorating, where I still want to see what week it is, but because of how things are laid out, I'm either covering it up or I'm not really paying attention to it because I have other things there. So I like that difference. The other big difference that I will say is we've started in July. This is going to be the format of each month going forward, where you have your monthly page, and then your monthly dashboard type page, and then your monthly layout. And all of the July pages are going to be together. In both of these other planners, we have a monthly section, we have a weekly section, And then for the Hobonichi Cousin, we have a daily section, and the Common Planner, we have a notes section. So everything's kind of spread out. If you have ADHD, I feel like having them all together is easier. At least that's what I'm hoping, and that I'll utilize the pages more because I won't forget that, oh, I can turn to the front for July and I can turn to the back for my daily pages and that kind of thing. The Common Planner maybe gives you a little bit more room at the bottom. This is, I think, more close to the Hobonichi Cousin in format, but generally speaking, pretty much the same. We also have tabs up here with July. Both the Common Planner and the Hobonichi Cousin do not have those tabs on the side. And that is because of how they've split everything up. They don't have tabs for, at least in the Hobonichi Cousin, you only have marked tab locations for your daily pages on the back, because otherwise it would get so cluttered on the side. And for the Common Planner, it's only for the weekly threads because you don't have designated daily pages. All right, next in here, we have two kind of blank pages for notes or whatever you need for your month. Then we go into daily pages. In both the Hobonichi Cousin and the Common Planner, you're just going to go into your next month. So I like that aspect. So here are our weekly setups. Let me grab a week out of each one of these to show you. Generally speaking, again, we have a similar format. It's just the little details. So all of these have a way of designating the year at the top. The new Just Scribbles has a 07, just like we saw with the months. So you have that to date. We have a JUL, so first three letters. The week number here, and that's all you have for the side column. In the Hobonichi Cousin, we have the year at the top. We have the number of the month and the first three letters in a blue box. So if you're a decorative planner, this can be annoying. And then you have a full calendar down here with some colorfuls, and you also have the number of the week. In the sterling ink, we have the number, and in really small print, you have the name of the month in full, the year, and then the week number is over here, and then you have the full calendar. So I'm not sure which is best. I think it depends on how you utilize your planner. I kind of like this aspect. I don't tend to look at that calendar up the top. Because I think it's because I use a digital calendar as well. As far as the layout goes, so there is kind of a light outline around here for a header. We have the day of the week on this side and the number on the other, which is pretty similar to the other ones. Here in the Common Planner, we have the date first and then a small, first three letters of the day of the week. And then in the Cousin, we have the little headers here. Now, the biggest difference is going to be in this area below it and the spacing. So the Hobonichi Cousin has a 24-hour clock. We start at 5 a.m. and go to 4 a.m. at the bottom. And it's a 24-hour clock. So we get to, 23, there's 0, and then we start again. I tend to forget after 12 what time it is, and I have to count it out every week. So I like having a 12-hour clock on here. It starts at 5 a.m. and goes to 2 a.m. So it's not quite a 24-hour clock, but there are so few people who are scheduling things between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. that I don't feel like it's going to be a big hindrance. And you can always section this part off to do other things. And then the Common Planner has not quite a 24-hour clock. So it starts at 6 a.m. It is a 12-hour clock. So you have 6 to 12 here, and then 1 to 12. So it ends at midnight. Depending on the type of planner you are, that can be really nice. And then you have space here at the bottom that you can use for notes or whatever is useful to you. The Common Planner does not have a line here. That is something that bothered me a little bit decorating this year. So I like the fact that Just Scribbles has a line. And I think the definition is really nice. I think it's a nice in between the two. And all three have a spot at the top that's a blank where you can put in your weather, designations for the day, focuses, whatever works for you up there before you start the day. I think that's everything here. Going on to the next page, we have a blank page, and then we go straight into our daily pages. So our daily pages are set up with just a grid. And now, like I said, there's this little box in the middle. And I did ask about that. I wanted to make sure I was correct that this is the center of the page. It is. And for next year, that little box is going away. So if that's something that is annoying you this year, know that you won't have to deal with it in coming years. But we have the day of the week and then the date over here. Nothing about the month. It's just that. And I think that fits with the fact that we're going straight from the weekly to the daily. And then here we have all the days of the week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then our next page is a weekly layout. In the Hobonichi Cousin, we have the months at the beginning, the weeks in the middle, and the dailies at the back. And each month has a different color for their grid. It's not hugely intrusive, but it is how it works. The layout, I love this layout, but there are things that I wish I could change about it, including potentially the color. I love having my checkboxes here. This isn't going to be on this one, but I can always put it in. There's a timeline on the side. We don't have a timeline here. I don't know if that changes for next year. I didn't ask her. And I do really like actually this line here. It's called the magic line. So all of these other lines are dotted and this one is a solid. So you can see the definition between the two, but it's not distracting. I won't miss having this at the bottom with the quote and the calendar because I usually am covering that up. So it's not a big thing for me. Then the Common Planner doesn't have daily pages. It just has note pages. You can transfer them into this, but there's nothing already set up there. So that's another difference there. Also, the daily pages in the back here always say the month where these ones do not. I don't think it's a big difference, or I don't think it's a big thing for me. And we don't have the moon phases back here either. Another thing that doesn't really matter that much to me, but we'll have a weekly and daily pages together for each day of the week or each day of the month. And then when we get to the end of the month, hold on. Okay, if the month ends in the middle of the week, it looks like it just goes through the whole week. But then we have a July recap, which I really like. This isn't something that's in those other planners. And then we have an August dashboard page and the same type of setup where you have the monthly, the blank pages, the weekly pages, and that goes on for the whole quarter. So once we get to the end of September, which would be the end of the quarter, so when you get to the end of a quarter, you have a September recap on this side, and I forgot to point this out. So for the recaps, you have a grid on the top and the 3 squares are at the bottom, which is really nice. And then we have a quarterly recap with the same kind of layout where you have the grid on the top and the 3 boxes at the bottom. Then you have a blank page, and then we start quarter 4 and we have those 3 boxes at the top and room below. Then we have quarter 4's goals, and you have the next quarter's monthly trackers so that it's all together. And the next month's, calendar pages and quarterly breakdown here. And then you go into the next month. Then when we get to the very end, so here's December. So we have December recap, quarter 4 recap, and then we have a 2025 recap with that same layout for all the other recaps where you have the grid on the top and the 3 boxes at the bottom. And then at page 340, we start in at note pages, and we get until 381 with note pages. So probably about 40 something there, right? And you can use those for whatever you want. And then we have a the end, which I really, this made me smile when I saw it. And a don't forget to just scribble here. You have your back cover page and the back of the book. For the sterling ink, on the other hand, we do have, this whole back section is note pages, and you get, I think 183, because only the note pages are numbered back here. And you have no note pages really to speak of in here. I mean, you have a couple of blank pages there at the back. I think it's like 4 or 5 or something like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you have 6. Okay, 6 grid pages. Then you have the timetables. This can work great if you're a student or if you have a cleaning schedule. I forget to go back here though. And then you have a graph. You can always add that in with the pages here, a favorites, my 100, and symbols, and like some extra printed pages that most people don't use. Words to remember, the 365 checkoff, which obviously I never came back to, and gifts and addresses and all that, which most people these days aren't using, I think. And so not having them and having blank pages in these to designate your own, I think is really nice. So I'm going to be setting this up and trying it out this next couple of months and seeing how I like this format. Is it going to work for me for next year? For my catch-all, the sterling ink I know does not work for me because I really need those daily pages. So I'm hoping that this will be the right step and give me an option for next year where my fountain pens are going to work. The price is pretty comparable between the three. They're all around that $35 mark for a half volume, which would make a full volume around $65, which is going to be universal. I did ask her about her price, whether or not she feels that's going to increase with this paper change and everything. She's hoping it won't. I mean, obviously nothing is set in stone until she has the planners in hand, and it all depends on, a variety of factors that are going on right now. So that's really nice. And hopefully it'll stay the same. I'm looking forward to seeing what new covers and stuff she's going to come out with and that type of thing. Super excited to test out this planner. So if you want to see me setting this up and doing some weekly layouts and that type of thing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there. And until next time, I'll see you real soon.